The other day, I almost burned down the house, and that's not even the first time. My name's Shara Garcia, and in our house, we have one of those cast iron stoves covered with brick. But let's be real, in Southern California, we don't really need to use it a lot, except for a few weeks ago when it got nice and chilly, we had to move all the stuff out from behind it. Because when we're not using it, we put the TV trays behind it, we put plants on it, we put photos on it. Well, we put our kids to bed that night and we're like, let's put the fireplace on. We did our routine of taking everything out from behind it, put the fire on, and then we turned the lights off and sat in the glow of the fireplace and the crackling noises. We sat there for like 5-10 minutes, and then I heard the baby cry. So of course, mama goes over, takes care of the baby, maybe just 30 seconds. But when I walk out of the room, I hit a wall of smoke, just a wall of smoke. And so I come rushing in to my husband who's just lounging on the couch, like unbeknownst to him that there's smoke everywhere. I flip the lights on, there's smoke everywhere in the room. We rushed to open the windows, we're opening the sliding door. We can't figure out why there's smoke everywhere because we opened the vent until my husband looks behind the stove, the fireplace, and he sees that one of the wooden TV trays was still back there leaning against the stove, catching on fire. And the scary part about all this is that we just sat there as smoke filled the room and our fire alarms didn't even go off, which is a huge problem. But you know what? Sin can be a lot like that. It starts out as a small compromise, a justification, until it consumes, it fills the room, which is why Paul is saying in our verse today, in Ephesians 5:3, that there must not even be a hint. He says, but among you, there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity or of greed, because these are improper for God's holy people. Paul calls this radical change for purity in this culture that he was living in Ephesus, where they were all about sexual promiscuity, pursuing what feels good, pleasure, and he's calling for them to be so radical that there's not even a hint. And what's crazy about this is that we live in a culture very similar to this, where we've kind of desensitized ourselves, where we don't even realize the smoke is coming in. If you look back to when there were movie ratings in the early 1900s, you wouldn't even see a married couple in the same bed. They would show them in 2 different twin beds. Now, movies, the things they allow in PG-13, even PG movies, it's crazy. We've just desensitized ourselves to sex, sexuality, to this pursuit of pleasure. And Paul is saying, I want you to avoid sexual immorality. Don't even have a hint of it. Hint meaning what we watch, what we listen to, the jokes we say, the things we read, to completely avoid it. Because imagine if I were to make pancakes in the morning for my kids, but before I mix in the batter, I go outside, take 1/8 of a teaspoon of my chicken's poop, mix it in. No one in my house is gonna eat that, including me. That's gross. It ruined the whole thing. I don't want a hint of poop in my pancakes. Well, Paul is calling us to this radical purity, not even a hint of sexual immorality, of greed. It continues on in verse 4. There should be no obscenity, foolish talk, or coarse joking, which are out of place, but rather thanksgiving. See, this pursuit of purity isn't just about what we avoid, but it's also about what we pursue. The rest of chapter 5, which I encourage you to read, talks about this pursuit of holiness, pursuit of what God has for us. It says, pursue thanksgiving. We can be thankful for the gift of sex, of sexuality, of the way that God designed it to be. We can talk wholesome about that. We can have gratitude for that. And so I just want to challenge you today with 2 questions. The first one is, where do you need to clean out the smoke before it fills the room? And the second one is, what's one step today that you can take to pursue purity, not just avoid impurity? And I'm going to leave you with this catchy phrase that hopefully you can remember throughout the week. Impurity kills, gratitude fills, and accountability builds. Thank you, and we'll see you next time for our next Daily Dose.
Thanks for joining us for this Daily Dose. We would love to be able to hear other topics you would like us to cover. Put them in the comments below. And remember, like and subscribe.